Hello, my name is Evie Cuervo. Welcome to Dejero Tech Talks. Picture this, a tactical military team inching their way along a deserted terrain, their mission to maintain border security. How about this? There's a football stadium filled with 70,000 excited fans. Among the crowd are hundreds of officers, some in uniform, others in plain clothes, scanning for danger and keeping the lines of communication open. Many of us are unaware of the critical work underway to keep us, the public, safe. For those on the front lines, this is an everyday reality. On this episode of Dejero Tech Talks, we have a team of Dejero experts to talk us through the challenges and also the solutions that are provided by Dejero around the world. Joining me today is Dean Taylor, a former patrol sergeant in San Diego County, and Alejandro Cavazos is a former federal law enforcement agent and now Dejero's business development advisor. And last but not least, Rory McCabe, a former FirstNet business development manager for public safety and now Dejero's public safety channel manager. Welcome to all of you.
Thank you, Evie.
Thank you.
So let's first talk about connectivity. Obviously, in public safety, there are different use cases and certainly challenges. So talk me through what you've seen on the field.
I think that connectivity is growing. And when you look at the applications that are needed for these events that you've referred to in your intro, like 70,000 people or complex missions where you're adding additional personnel, the requirements for connectivity are getting bigger and bigger. And I think the challenge is providing that in some sort of wireless fashion.
What about you, Alejandro?
This is how I think about connectivity. It's the highway that connects everything in a department. It doesn't matter what it is, it's something that's completely needed. It doesn't matter where or at any given time, it's just needed. And sadly, where I come from the southern border and with United States and Mexico, connectivity, there's a lot of places there that connectivity is very low or non-existent. And our equipment truly helps convey all that information required for an agent that's out on the ground with backup very couple of miles of far away from him, right? And our equipment has completely changed that situation or that type of environment for agents down in the South.
Whether it's Border Patrol or, firefighters or police officers, bandwidth is really important. Let's break that down a bit because it can vary where they are, what they're doing. Talk us through that first, Dean.
So I think that when you look at bandwidth, we kind of describe that as what we need to get our job done, right? And so at the beginning, you have life safety issues, and that can consume a little bit of bandwidth. That could be where you are and perhaps voice communication, right? That's a little bandwidth. And then you get into mission critical bandwidth, which could be something like additional data from your vehicle. How fast is your vehicle going? The heart rate of the officer involved. It could be whether your taser has been removed out of your gun belt. Those kinds of things are important, but they're not necessarily life or death. And then you move into other challenges, for instance, when you bring on additional resources. Maybe they're separate. They're not part of your organization. They're people coming in. So you need to have communications amongst yourselves. So then that becomes more of a way to provide additional information and make sure that the mission moves forward. And then I think lastly, you look at your future. What else do you want to do? You want to be able to provide real-time instantaneous video. You want to have the ability to dock your body-worn cameras in your vehicle to get all that information back quickly. So there's various steps, but that trend is more and more and more.
Let's keep on the bandwidth sort of conversation. For you, Alejandro, let's say you are working, say, with Border Patrol agents, and there is not one tower in sight. How do you ensure that connectivity when you're doing really important work?
Bandwidth for us is completely everything. And my partner can divide it into different steps on maybe in a sheriff's or a police department. But I can refer to with the Border Patrol agents, it's something critical. No matter, every step is critical for those type of communications. It's always critical. And when we're in certain locations where there's no towers, no connectivity inside, and I was able to have one of these gateways or an angle out there that actually provides hotspot internet for us, I'm not too sure how it actually makes it happen, but it just works. It completely just works. And that's something that the agents are amazed about, right? Where we've taken it to places where we've never had any type of connectivity, and we're able to get some type of internet access. And especially, it's very important now that, for example, all border patrol agents are required to have an ATAC phone. They have a cellular government cellular phone that has ATAC on it, and it's completely operated by connectivity. And once you lose that connectivity, now you have a technology that their technology that doesn't work.
Let's talk a little bit now. Let's switch gears from bandwidth to uptime. This is also really important. Maybe Rory, you can kick us off on this discussion.
Yeah, so we've been going through with a lot of our different customers here, and one of the different challenges that you see from an uptime perspective is what happens when it's not capable, right? You have certain commitments to society, and whether protecting and serving. And in the state of Colorado, where I live, it's a big component, and certain topographies don't allow for infrastructure to be built out the same exact way. Whether that's point-to-point microwave hops between cell towers or hanging fiber optic connections. These pose certain risks, and as you know, we've seen our climate go through certain different challenges, increase of intensity of wildfires, storms, and things of that nature. That communications infrastructure can be put to challenge. So, what do you do, and how do you overcome that when uptime can be clipped out in a second? A tower can be taken down, a fiber line can be burnt out or clipped. And how do you overcome that? And our technology providing that resiliency of a multifaceted data input to push the data stream that they need to create and provide them with the appropriate uptime to let them respond to everything that is chaotic that's happening around them. It's absolutely incredible to see the benefits our customers reap that we have. How do you mitigate? How do you overcome challenges that you really you can't overbuild? You can't do certain things in the environment to accomplish that, where you need something like us to give you that remote enablement.
One of the things that I think Dejero does so well is create technology that is agnostic, meaning that it can speak to just about every other technology out there. So let's talk a little bit about that, because I think it's really important to ensure that if you are a police officer, or if you're a firefighter, or if you're, patrolling borders, that your communication is going to work. Dean, maybe you can kick us off. Is when you're looking at products, transmitters, or gateways, how important is that ecosystem?
There are technologies that are being developed now that are being developed for instance, in firefighters. There's a new act in the United States called the Dingle Act, where firefighters, when they're on duty, their supervisors, their team needs to know where they are in X, Y, and Z space. And I know that gets kind of complicated, but when you think about Z space, if a firefighter thinks he's on the second floor and he needs help, and he's calling for help, and everybody's rushing to the second floor, when in reality he's on the fifth floor, you can see where that could be a major problem. And so I think that as new products are developed, they all really have the same requirement, which is, how do I get that information back to the devices that are processing it and giving me important situational awareness? Or how is it getting back to people who are bringing me resources, right? So that's very important, I think, in the work that we do. And we're seeing that because of the way the system works, and because of the way that it's agnostic, it's allowing new people with new ideas to come in and utilize the same thing that you use at home to, order your food, or order something from Amazon, or have your refrigerator order your milk for you.
You guys have been on the field. I'm really interested in hearing about some of the cases, even before you joined Dejero, where you may have been exposed to smart lighting technology and sort of understood the difference.
Out in the field, we've been using the Dejero gateways for. So picture this: we were tasked to building a rescue beacon, and that rescue beacon is used and it's installed in areas where there's no connectivity, there's no people around. Hence the rescue beacon, right? So we were having a lot of trouble because before we were using old technology, we were using microwaves. Sometimes they would go down completely. Somebody would hit a button and nobody would know that it was actually working, right? So what we did, we came up with an idea. We put a solar panel system, a battery charged solar panel system. We added a gateway on it. And by adding internet to it, my partner, Ruben, was able to add a P2P voice call on it. And I added a video camera, live camera feed on it. And now every time you hit that emergency, that red button for help, it dials out to dispatch. And you're actually able to talk to that person and ask questions. And you're also able to view that person in live video feed, We installed that camera in an area where we could never, ever before have any type of connectivity. Not even with other technology that we were using inferior to that. And I'm talking about technology that we used on a daily basis. That area was completely dead. And it was inside a ranch in Texas, in the middle of completely nowhere. There's about 100 miles circular, and there's nothing around. It's just ranch land completely. And it worked. It completely worked. We were able to make it work. We were able to see those live video feeds from the field, and we were just astonished at how simple it was just to make it happen. You turn it on, and it works.
That's really great. How about you, Dean? You must have a million stories.
Yeah, I think for me, what I see is technology as a tool that helps the community build better relationships with their providers. And specifically, I'm talking about law enforcement. We live in a time where it's important that we have as much transparency as possible. The beauty of that is they all need to have a way to get back to the command center or to the cloud where the application is being run. And that's what the gateway can do for them.
Rory, you are sort of new to the company, but you're not new to public safety. You've been in it many years. When you hear sort of the application, what gets you most excited about sort of your role developing here?
So I had a prior customer of mine that came to me when they had to do a mobile command for a wildfire instance, and they found themselves in the position where they popped up their GeoSat dish, and they tried to pull in signal to get communications, to have their GIS mapping, and nothing. Almost nothing from a trickle from communications, barely an email coming through, not enough for voice or text or any of that capacity. And they're working to figure out, how do I solve for this? I need to have the best of everything. You can't always build or accommodate or one carrier or one necessarily space-based communication does everything for one person. The mitigation of risk and then the life raft that you need for it. So for them, we went back through and said, hey, listen, there's a technology I was recently exposed to, and we can take the two different satellite connections you have and blend those together to provide you this life raft for communications for you to be the forward command for your wildfires. Went through, did some robust testing with it in partnership with Dejero, and it was this, let's not call it a silver bullet, but let's just say it was something that they had never been able to do effectively previously, and to the point where, how can I buy this from? How can I get this? And that was a really fulfilling, engagement for me, just because I worked so hard for them in a challenge environment in their county that is topography that most of the U.S. would never experience, and we were able to provide them a real-world solution.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
To learn how smart blending technology is being used in mission-critical connectivity, head to Dejero.com.